Well, g'day legends and welcome back to another episode of the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. Hey, this one's proudly brought to you by partnership with the Los Angeles Tribune Network. And my name is Jeff Ross. I'm your host, proud father of three energetic boys, coming to you from the beautiful island of Tasmania, Australia. This is the show where we help frustrated affiliate network marketers and online entrepreneurs master AI, social selling, and attraction marketing, so you can build a business that works for you instead of the other way around. Now, let me ask you this. Are you using video to grow your business? Are you using AI the right way to create content that converts? Because in 2025, if you're not showing up on video, you're invisible. And that's exactly why I'm pumped to have the awesome Nick Niehaus on this show today. And Nick is the co-founder of Business Video School, a video marketing expert, a leader in helping business owners use video effectively without the overwhelm. He's trained thousands of entrepreneurs on how to leverage video to build trust, attract customers, and close more sales. In today's episode, Nick's going to break down how AI plus video is changing the social selling game in 2025. The biggest mistakes people make with video marketing and how to fix them, and how to go from camera shy to confident, even if you're a total beginner and you're new to this. Hey legends, before we dive into today's conversation, let's talk about something that's completely changing the game for affiliate marketers, influencers, and e-commerce entrepreneurs. I'd love to introduce you to Shoply. Imagine if TikTok, Amazon, and Amway had a baby. That baby would be Shoply, the world's first decentralized e-commerce platform designed for live commerce, social selling, and affiliate marketing at scale. No more middleman, more profits. Built in the affiliate system so you can earn while you promote and sell or promote any product on the platform with just a few clicks. If you're a network marketer into affiliate marketing or even thinking about launching an online store, Shoply is for you. Go check it out for yourself, see if it's a fit for you. Head over to lld.shoply.com/partners. I'll make sure that link is in the show notes. But let's get into today's episode, guys, with Nick Niehaus. Nick, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, Jeff. Looking forward to it.
Really appreciate you. That's right. We had you on for our first round, very early days when I first started this whole podcast. So a lot's happened in probably the last 6 months, as you can tell. But let's get started with this and dive into your wheelhouse with the video marketing. How have you seen that changed over the last 12 months, especially with AI shaking things up even more?
Man, there's a lot more junk out there, unfortunately. I think that's probably the number one thing that's changed. And that's to be expected, right? New technology, people are experimenting with it. A lot of times those early experiments are disappointing, the results, but it's moving fast, and I think that there's so many elements to what you can be doing with AI. It's making editing video easier. I'll tell you what, probably the number one benefit is that it's a lot easier to come up with ideas now to script your videos, things like that, right? So I think the bottlenecks are going away, right? I think that's probably the biggest thing I've seen change in 12 months is that the excuses that people had 12 months or 2 years ago to not be using video, they're just getting kind of knocked down one after another, not just through AI. There's definitely other tools that are making that easier too, but that's a big one, right? And I think that what we're seeing is the beginning, and it's crazy to think it's the beginning, but I think we're seeing sort of the beginning of the next wave. I think video in a lot of ways was kind of in the early adopter phase still to this day. It's been around for a long time, but it was still kind of the more brave individuals that were using it. And I think the mass market is finally adopting it, so I think we're seeing an explosion of new people trying it. I love that. I love to see people's earliest videos where they're still uncomfortable and kind of awkward, but they're doing it. And they're finally getting out there and getting over their fear and kind of taking it on. So we're seeing a huge increase in that. And we're seeing people, being able to finally take that step, finally give it a try. But the trade-off is there's even more noise and AI. Holy cow. Some of these video tools are getting good now. The way it's going to be 10x from here, right? So much more of this stuff's coming. So I think getting started, it's like if you haven't yet, now's the time. You got to get on this before it gets too noisy.
Yeah, and there's a couple of areas I want to dive in just in that conversation, how AI is just a tool, and a lot of people out there trying to use it as a replacement and hide behind the tool versus leveraging the tool. Like, at the Laptop Lifestyle Dads, our mantra is AI plus our heart equals our superpower. And so
Love that, yeah.
it's a partnership, right? So I want to get into that conversation with you too. But let's come back to video for a second. I remember, like, even 10 years ago, first time sort of really getting on video, I thought, right, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to put a YouTube channel up, do all these content videos. And way back then, with editing and all that sort of thing, it was a big headache. It was a lot of work. And also, like, I wasn't that great on camera. I had the green screen. I was trying to fake it till you make it sort of attitude. And I look back now at some of the videos that I did. It's like, oh, they're the most cringeworthy things. Why are they up? But
right. It's always fun to look at the early ones, right?
You got to put that content out there to get good at it, right? So learning's messy.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, where you go?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to ask you. So how do we sort of help build your confidence up? And like with anything, you've just got to get it in, and you got to get the repetitions and build up your experience through there. But for our listeners, right, they're in that space. They see everybody on these videos. They realize that if they want to be heard, they need to be in the game playing. So there's a couple of conversations around this, but let's just talk around that whole confidence building conversation first. How do you help empower and equip people to get in the game?
That's a huge one, right? I mean, that's where a lot of people are stuck. And unfortunately, I think for a lot of folks, it becomes this kind of insurmountable mountain that they just kind of keep building bigger and bigger for themselves because they thought 5, 6, 7 years ago, I should probably do this, video's not going away. I mean, it's only kind of grown from there. And I think what limits most people is it's performance anxiety, right? I mean, it's just your standard, you're sort of you're envisioning kind of what it's going to look like. You're sort of, you're in this public sphere. What I find is a lot of the people struggle with this are folks that grew up with video meaning television or movies, right? So people over a certain age, if you were to say video to them, they grew up with TV and movies, right? And like, if you were going to get on TV, would that have helped your business? Like, absolutely. Would it have been completely nerve-wracking and people would have been talking to you about it for weeks afterwards because they saw you on television? I mean, yeah, it's like this huge, huge thing. And I think a lot of folks, they kind of imagine that that's what video is going to be. Some of our earlier clients, when we first started making video, like they had their family members saying things like that to them. Like, oh, what are you trying to be, a big TV star? And they're making like a Facebook video, right? It's kind of silly. That is the major problem, is that we're thinking of what we're doing as a performance instead of a conversation. And I think that's the difference, right? Video is just a conversation. That's literally all it is. Now, you can get to the performance level. You can try to grow a big following. You can even try to get on TV. Like, that's all still possible.
Mr. B style.
Right, yeah. I mean, you want to be Mr. B, right? Yeah, you can be a top-level influencer. You can go try to have millions of followers. But I find most people, for one, you just don't even want that. Like, I don't personally want that. Like, I don't use social media that way. I'm not trying to go viral and grow a massive following of strangers. I see social media as networking, and I'm very targeted with it. Like I send friend requests to people that I don't know, but who I know are very valuable individuals if I can build a relationship with them. And I try to use it that way, So there's all these different ways to use it. But what I'll say is there's also other kinds of video, right? Like, there are kinds of video that you can make and use that'll help your business that are never public. Like, they'll never be seen by strangers. There's no performance element whatsoever. I mean, I love one-to-one video messaging, right? So, like, just the easiest example, this is my favorite video to teach people to make. Facebook tells you when it's somebody's birthday, right? Like, literally you get a list every day. Here's all the people who have a birthday today, because maybe we shouldn't have, but we all gave Facebook our birthdays at one point. And so got all this data, right? And it's sharing it with you. And you can literally, if you pull up that birthday list, next to each name, below it is a place you can write on their wall. That's what everybody does, right? Everybody, hey, happy birthday, have a great day. That's great. Next to it, though, is the messenger button. And if you click that, it'll start a chat with that person who's having a birthday today. And then inside of that, if you're on your phone and you're using the app-based version, there's a button where you can record a video. And so it literally doesn't take any more time. In fact, I got flat thumbs and it's kind of hard for me to type on my phone. I think it's quicker for me to send a 10-second happy birthday video message
Yeah.
than it is for me to write something, right? And then you click the back button a couple times, you go to the next person, you send the next video. Those are the kinds of things you can do. They don't require editing, right? Like you're going to get the reps because you're going to see yourself. That's one of the more intimidating parts, like hearing your own voice, seeing your own face, getting used to that. You know, there's some elements there. And you're going to do something that has a tremendous impact. I mean, like when somebody gets one of these 10-second happy birthday videos from you, they love it, right? I mean, oh my God, what a nice thing to do. It's almost like you sent them a handwritten card.
Yeah.
But it's better because they're seeing your face, and the faces, that's how we think of people is their faces. You want to be the face they think of first when they need your product or service. And so that's kind of getting into the weeds there a little, but I think that's the number one thing, right? Is to tell yourself, look, if the videos you're thinking of making are hard to make because they're a performance, you take a step back, you find a simpler version, you find a more intimate version, something that's not public, and you do that first. And I'll tell you right now, there's all kinds of video messages. We can go into other examples if you want, but obviously there's probably a few people, if not a dozen or more people on your Facebook friend list every day with a birthday. You probably have positive feelings towards most of them. You know, if you don't, then skip them. And if you just do that for a few weeks, you've now made dozens of videos. So you can go from I've never made a video, I've been waiting for 10 years, to I've now made dozens of videos in a couple weeks. And I think once you know that, the excuses are kind of going away, right? Like you really can't, I'm afraid to make a one, you know, you can say happy birthday. That's not too hard, right?
And that's a really great place to start, Nick. And there's so much more in that whole conversation. Like we're talking about performance anxiety and expectations right now. But as I'm sitting here listening, like, you know, I'm a branding expert. I can hear the branding points. I can hear the relationship building points and you're unpacking there. So that probably brings me around to my next question. You know, the first comment that you made there is there's so much more rubbish out there now because of AI and video, right? Mm-hmm. So the world is becoming a very, very noisy place, you know, and there's more people out there putting content than ever before. And it's you know, the algorithms are designed to really put content out there that has mass engagement or, you know, that's going to get engagement out there. So what are some of your tips to be able to help people stand out in this very noisy crowd? Like for me, it's not to go be noisier. It's to go and be a space that builds trust with people, right? To be able to rise above the crowd, because trust is that number one resource at the moment. I think that is so scarce. And because of there's so much noise out there, because there's so many people out there being scammed and burned now. So, you know, we've really got to, you know, early on establish that trust factor. So what are some of your tips around standing out in a noisy crowd and helping to build up that trust through, you know, video content marketing?
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right. And I think this is what AI is going to make so much worse is the ability to trust people on the internet, right? I mean, and that's partially like I'm very much against the idea of creating an avatar of myself. Like I have some friends that have done that, right? Like they have a fake version of themselves that they can put on camera. And I'm just like, man, if people find out that it's not you, how will they ever trust that it is you in the future? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I could do a Zoom meeting with what I think is you and it's not you, you know, and so it could be somebody else behind it. They could hack that account and use your persona. So just that, yeah, absolutely. I think it is all about trust. And I do think, unfortunately, AI is going to just further erode that online trust. So how do you combat that? I mean, you know, some of it is, you know, a lot of it is not necessarily the way you make videos or distribute them. It's actually what you do outside of that, right? So like I teach our students, like, if you're not spending just as much time, you know, when you sure make content, but are you engaging with other people's content? You know, are you leaving comments on their YouTube videos? Are you commenting on their Facebook posts, right? And that's what I mean is like, I have sort of the strategy I use now on Facebook where I'll go out and I'll Facebook, you know, send a friend request to somebody who I've never met, but I know is like a very influential person I'd love to build a relationship with. Because of the friends we have in common, they'll accept it, which is really cool. It's a network I've built over years. But then it's about what do you do next, right? It's not just, okay, now they're my Facebook friend, I'm just going to put a bunch of videos out and they'll see them. That might happen. But if I go comment on their content, now we're getting to know each other, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much. I mean, you know, they post something, they're excited, big, you know, a lot of times they're celebrating wins because they're successful people. celebrate with them, right? Say a couple things. You can send them again a video message. That's a huge one. I'll put it this way: if I see a 10-second video and it's personalized to me and it's about something I just posted, the chances of that being fake are basically zero, right? Because
Yeah.
that's just a lot of work to fake something like that. Now, a couple more years, I don't know, right? I mean, this stuff can continue to move, but to me, that's a big part of it, right? So that's probably number one is, there's never been, there will be people who make some content and they never interact with anybody else and they go viral because they're really funny or they're really attractive or, whatever that kind of killer angle is. But there's less of those than the people who just do the work, right? So that's one thing. Consistency to me is another one. I think that's huge. I think there's a lot of psychological sort of effects here where it's something called the mere exposure effect. It's also called the familiarity principle. There's literally two names for it. And it just basically states that the more often you see someone, the more you trust them. It's that simple. Like, I mean, you that's it. Like, I mean, and a lot of it comes from like, it's instinctual, right? It's from those times in human history where we had our tribe and the people we could trust, and we saw them every day, right? They lived near us. They were in the same village or town or camp or whatever. And then if we saw a face that we did not see on a regular basis, it would alert our brains, hey, we don't know this person. They might be trying to kill us, like, or competing over food, whatever it was. Society has evolved beyond that, but those instinctual effects are still there, right? So the consistency is crucial. I mean, and it's not frequency. This is where a lot of people get confused. It's like, oh, how many times should I post a day? Well, okay, you should probably post as much as you can. But I see a lot of people, I'm going to post 3 times a day, 3 videos. That's the perfect, okay. They do it for a week and then they just disappear and they stop doing it because it was too much work. I'd rather see somebody, 1 video a week, even once a month to start, but be able to do that consistently, right?
Yeah,
And
long term.
That's basically subconsciously teaching people that you're dependable because you keep showing up, right? I mean, that's what it is. Like, who do we tend to be friends with? Like the people we keep seeing all the time, the people who keep showing up to the same things we go to, right? And so that's it. So I think if you go out and you do the work of engaging with other people, they're going to return the favor. They're going to engage with you. Your content's going to go, it's going to be spread more. I actually got a notification from Facebook yesterday. I earned one of those badges. It was like conversation starter for the week or something. And I guess just means like you get people to comment on your posts,
Yep. Rising creator.
Right. Yeah. That one. That's So there's a bunch of these badges they give you. Again, gamification, right? Keep you on the platform. But that's what that is, right? So it's a matter of, are you commenting, then you're going to get the favor returned, and then just showing up. And so then there's all kinds of other tricks, right? I mean, good hooks at the beginning of your video. Your quality does have an impact, although you don't want to go too far because if it's too polished, it's not going to go, not perform as well. But those two things I think are way more important. I think if you're engaging and you're showing up consistently, that's going to do a lot of the work for you. And I'll be honest, those are the hard parts, right? I mean, it's easy to say. It's another thing to have that part of your schedule every week where you're making content or getting out there and engaging with other people. But those are the folks that'll win. And I think those are the people that'll have the trust, right?
Yes, totally agree with all of that. And basically what you're summarizing is just relationship building tactics. And they're not even tactics. They're just innate. That's how we built relationships for thousands of years, right? It's showing up and being consistent and being present and becoming friends. And so there's a lot in the psychology sense. But also, let's just bring this right back to its simplest, purest form. Is this is why I teach a lot of our students just to show up and shine and just be there and be consistent. And they're not it's almost like you got to go through this mindset, attitude change from instant gratification, from being attached to the result to just falling in love with the process and just figuring out what it is, why you're showing up, figuring out what's the impact you're wanting to achieve really long term, and going deep into your heart. And I think that when you can figure out that driving motivator, and the fact that you just got to show up and put a video up a day or whatever that is, or a podcast a week, like that's just part of that process. So you fall in love with the process and just commit all in. And then just then you just build amazing connections like this. And a story I've got for you here just to wrap this up. I brought on a new student for our Laptop Lifestyle Dads Academy this week, and we get into the story. This guy had been following me for about 18 months, 2 years, Never
Wow.
engaged once on my post. Didn't even know
Really?
who he was or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the silent stalkers, they're watching, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, isn't it crazy how common that is too? I mean, that's part of what keeps me going because I'll put stuff out and it'll get 2 or 3 likes, couple hundred views. You're like, oh, what was the point of that? And then a month later, I'm at a networking event. Somebody's like bringing that specific video up, and they've never, like you said, they never comment, they never like. I
Yeah,
mean,
you just don't know
it,
what's going on.
I know there's a lot of like just silent ghosts out there, but they're paying attention, right? And then
They
they're
are.
getting the value from it. And if you're hearing this and you're one of those folks, hey, just leave a comment or like every now and then, right? Because we want to know you. I mean, it's two-way. Like we're not just
Yeah,
out there trying to pull your money from your pocket. Like there's definitely I'd like to have a two-sided relationship, right? We'd like to get to know you as
100%.
well.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
look,
but that's
I
so
say to
common. I know.
I say to everybody, it's like, please connect, let's engage, let's chat. I love to chat. So, let's go. Let's shift gears. So coming
Uh-huh.
back around to the whole conversation around performance anxiety just a little bit there, because I understand that is a big, big, big thing that stops people from moving forward in this space. And like you and I, we're comfortable on camera now because we've got the reps under our belt. We've fallen over, we've got a few scars in our knees, and we've learnt through, trial and error, right? But the whole solution, there seems to be a big gap here. And then there seems to be another solution that's, coming in to try and fill this gap, and that's faceless video.
Mm.
So, AI's come in now, and so people can not have to be on camera anymore, and they can use avatars, they can use faceless video. There are some amazing tools out there. I love what Austin Armstrong has done with Syllabi, and then now we've got Sora that's just come on the marketplace with OpenAI. I'd love to dive into this conversation with you. Do you see any potential for faceless video content, and how do you see it being leveraged in a powerful way?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I love Syllabi as well. We've had Austin come and show our students how to use it before.
Yeah, it's a
And I
great
think
tool.
it is, yeah. And I think this is, I'm more interested in that than the avatars personally,
Mm-hmm.
and actually I know with Syllabi that was where Syllabi started, was kind of the avatar thing. And he found a bigger audience and more interest, I think, in the faceless videos, and the reality is, everything you share is a conversation, right? Kind of coming back to what I said earlier. I think if you think of it that way, and it depends on what you're trying to do, right? So
Mm.
somebody who wants to grow a channel, like my goal is I just want to have a YouTube channel that can get monetized, and I can maybe do other ads and promotions through it. I want to be able to sell it, transfer it, like those those don't have to all be true, but like some of those kinds of considerations. I think if you went all faceless, that's fine, right? In fact, it might be better because if people see your face, and your face is the activator, right? Like we have a
Mm.
dedicated part of our brain. It's called the fusiform face area that is dedicated to recognizing human faces, right? Because again, that's how we identify one another. So if you never show your face, you're basically anonymous, right? They might know the name of the channel. That's about it. There's maybe a logo or something. That's going to make something that can be transferred to somebody else, right? They're going to follow it very much based on the type of content you share. So
Mm.
in fact, that can sometimes be an easier way to get subscribers, right? Because they're interested in the topic. They don't have to worry about who the person is. Now, on the other hand, I teach business owners, right? So when I talk to business owners, I say, look, not every business owner is the kind of person who's trying to build relationships that lead to sales, but most are, right? And if you're in that kind of role, and I typically our sort of main type of customer and student is a real estate agent,
Yeah.
and they 100%, it's all about,
People.
them and the
Yeah.
relationship, right? Like they're the one working with the customer. It's all about, do I trust this person or not? They're going to help me buy something that costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. That's a big deal. In that case, I wouldn't go all faceless. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use it, right? So I think in those cases, the faceless content is really good as a supplement, right? So if I have
Mm.
a good mix of, I have a talking head video, or I have a neighborhood tour video or something that I'm in, you can see me, but that was a bunch of work and it took me hours to edit, and I can't do that every day. And I can go ahead and make some of these faceless videos that, again, at least are talking and focusing on the same topics that my customer cares about. You stay on those
Yeah.
same kind of content pillars. I think that can be very powerful, right? Because you're still showing up, you're still providing value. You probably have your face in your logo and that kind of thing on your social profile. But if I want to build the relationship, I do need to show up at some point. And that is where people struggle, right? Because they want to get away from, I don't want to have to do it at all. But if you put those two channels next to each other, I don't know about follower count, but I don't really care about follower count. I care about sales, right? I can basically guarantee you the one where there is somebody showing up every now and then is going to get the sales, right? Because there's an actual familiarity developing there. So that would be kind of my take on it. But I think it's an incredible tool, and in terms of kind of keeping your brand and your face and growing more. I mean, you can get subscribers from those videos, and then they'll see your talking head videos later. Very powerful stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. You got to think about the objective that you're wanting to achieve, and and if you're just after followers and essentially followers for sake of followers, vanity metrics, then go build a faceless YouTube channel and just build that. But is it going to be long-term sustainable? Probably not without the relationship piece, unless you're totally got a product that doesn't require you to have a face to it. And so I think it's about who are you serving, who's the audience, right?
Exactly. Yep. That is, it's sometimes easier, sometimes not, but it's like, it is absolute. I mean, that's the problem when you teach this stuff is it's like, people are asking what kind of human communication should I do? And it's like, what a broad topic, everybody's different. Every audience is different. And they're all going to need different things. Right. So I think that is really what it comes down to, because what we've seen, it's been interesting kind of watching his group and the people that are doing this stuff, is there's definitely certain niches where the faceless videos kill it. Like the weird history stuff, or I've noticed like the superhero niches, like this little stories from comic books and stuff. Those are all growing like crazy, right?
Yeah, I can see them creating, awesome followings. But then my question comes around to is like, okay, how do we monetize that? And there are ways that you can monetize that through, merchandise and, drop shipping sort of business model and all of that sort of thing. But yeah, it's that's the question I've always got myself here is like, it's a great tool, but I feel like the sweet spot in this whole conversation is a hybrid. It's not all faceless. It's not all on face. It's somewhere in the middle, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's, whatever's supporting your consistency. I think that's what it comes down to, right? So yeah, if it's helping you show up more frequently, but on a consistent basis, I mean, some of this can be automated. I know a syllabi, you can basically generate an entire month's worth of content in one go and schedule all of it. I mean, that's a huge deal, right? So it's like any tool, any system that's going to kind of help you, consistently showing up. Because I'll tell you, human beings don't work that way. We kind of work in phases, right? So it's like I'll have one week where I'm all about posting and I'm posting 20 times a day and I'm super active. And other weeks I'm just not feeling it. Yeah, right? I mean, you kind of get in the mood or you're not in the mood. And so other weeks where you just sort of drop off and just don't feel like doing it. And I think that is a big area that these automation tools, these AI tools, that's where they're helping a lot, right? Is to kind of fill in those gaps. So I would definitely encourage people to think about it that way. How can I use this to make sure that when I do inevitably drop the ball for a period, that this system kind of steps up and takes over for me?
Yeah. Cool. Let's shift gears to tools just quickly. So what's your favorite AI video? I'm sorry, not AI. Your favorite video tool to help people get in the game? Right now, I'm loving CapCut. I can record a phone video on my phone and I can get on CapCut, I can do some editing and I can post it within 10 minutes. What are some of your favorite tools in that space?
Well, I'll second CapCut for sure. I will say we're like a day from or a couple days away from the TikTok ban in the United States right now. And so by the time you're listening to this, TikTok, might be gone in the U.S. and CapCut might be gone with it. It's completely, nobody's really sure right now. So we'll see what happens. So if CapCut goes away, then, at least in the U.S., that might not be as relevant anymore. But I'll say another one I really like that's really interesting is called Descript. This is Descript. I mean, it's got really cool tools. It's got one of the features it has that's really nice is it has an eye contact correction tool. So if you record a video where you're not looking at the screen, you're kind of looking over at your computer screen, reading a script, things like that, it will adjust it. So it'll make it so your eyes are looking into the camera, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of just one feature of it. That's one thing. One of its kind of claims to fame. It's also it kind of started out as an editing tool for editing based on your transcript. So you can look at the words you were saying, and you can use that to go in and kind of cut it and remove ums and ahs and things like that. So if you're not used to video editing, that can be really helpful because you don't have to go through and learn how to navigate the timeline and things like that. So Descript, that's one. Another one that's a teleprompter app that we teach a lot is called Big View, but the view is VU, so BIGVU. That one is going to be mostly for teleprompt, for recording teleprompter, but does have some editing features on the back end. And then I'll mention a video messaging tool that we're big fans of. And it's called Dub, so DUBB. Dub is for sending one-on-one video messages, but it's got, this thing, since we signed up a couple years back, the amount of features they've added is really impressive. So it's really more of a comprehensive sales tool at this point. You can use it as a CRM. It's got a lot of AI features. One of the cool things about it is that when they go to watch your video, they basically are seeing, first of all, they'll see a preview of your video in the text or email that they get. So they see your face, right? It kind of increases that trust factor. They're not just clicking a link. But then when they do see the video, it'll open up and there's a landing page. So you can include calls to action, and you can link to offers and things like that. So I really like Dub. I think that's a great tool as well. Should probably stop there because there's a million of these things we could talk about, right? But
we could do a whole
master. Too many of them.
we could do a whole masterclass just on that. So
for sure.
Yeah, well, definitely got me interested in Dub. I'll have to go check this out. But cool. Last question. So we wrap this interview up. So I've got a 13-year-old son, 11-year-old son, an 8-year-old son. I'm always looking at passing this wisdom on to them for the next generation. So if you had to start all over again, it was like day zero for you, knowing what you know now, and all of a sudden you're transported back. You're now 13.
Man.
What would you do? Where would you start, and how would you get in the game?
Yeah, wow, that's a good one. It's so hard to answer that right now because AI has just changed so much. Because if this was 2 years ago, I probably would have talked about learning to code, right? Or trying to. Obviously, I still would get on social media. Like I think that is a mistake I made, is I actually grew up right in the sweet spot in a lot of ways. Like I remember Facebook came out when I was a senior. I think I was a senior in high school. I was dating a girl who was a freshman in college, so she was like one of the first people that had that. Because you had to be a college student at first, and so she had the EDU email address. She was able to register for an account. And so, I didn't dive in. I kind of put it, I don't like this. It's weird. I'm an introvert and I was never really, into this stuff. But in hindsight, I wish I had just dove in headfirst from day one. So that's obviously part of it is, again, it's iffy with teenagers, if you're under 18, it's like, how much can you tell them to get out there and do this stuff because they're not an adult. But if it was me making that decision for myself, that probably would have been a good thing. A lot of it though right now is just trying to learn as many of these AI tools as fast as possible. I think that is because I'll tell you, another 5 or 10 years from now, I don't even know what a job is going to be anymore. There's so much of this, even just in the 2 years I've been using it, it's gotten so much better. Even the naysayers, there are definite drawbacks, but a lot of things people have suggested are going to not work out, have worked out so far. So, if it was me, I'd be trying to just absolutely dominate the ability to write really good prompts. And, I do this for an hour or two almost every day now. I'm just going to these Facebook groups and what's the latest tool? There's always something new. It's totally overwhelming. But if you could figure out a way to sort of consistently internalize that and learn how to use each of them, I'd probably be creating content around how to use each one because that's a good way to kind of solidify the knowledge. They always say if you can teach something to somebody else, that's how you've mastered it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be it. And the truth is, where does it go from there? What does that skill set get you? I don't know, right? That's where it's we could get into a whole other conversation about sort of the economic impact and how things might need to change in the next 5 or 10 years. But I think you're going to future-proof yourself super well if you were to go that route, right?
Yeah. Well, just like the tractor, just like the tractor back in the agricultural revolution took away jobs. The computer in the 90s, it did transform the corporate scene, and jobs got more efficient and that type of thing.
Right.
I really do feel AI is going to transform the job network space. But the thing I believe is going to happen is what it's really going to do is AI is going to step in and replace those boring as bat poo roles.
Sure.
The ones that are just people don't really want to show up. And so I feel that's actually a good thing because then it's going to allow humanity to get more creative and really
Right.
tap into our imagination. And I'm excited for the future. I believe the future is very bright.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I think it's both very bright and also potentially very dark, but again, it's always like that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's always been, we invented nuclear weapons and, the earth was going to end or we were going to, have unlimited power. I mean, and any of these things you see, there's always going to be potential negatives and positives. I'm sure we'll see some of both, but I will say, I mean, it's definitely clear that like if you're learning to use these things, you're going to be in better shape than the people that aren't, right? And I
Yeah,
think
you're going to get
that's
the fine.
100% clear.
Yeah. Yeah, look, like anything, right? It's sort of the yin and the yang, the light and the dark. It's before we
Right.
find the sweet spot. So we're in that chaotic scenario at the moment before we find the sweet spot.
Yep. Yep.
Well, mate, thank you very much for your time. It's been amazing just digging into your wisdom gems. Before we go, I've got to hit you with a classic dad joke. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a laptop lifestyle dad show without one. So my dad joke for you, mate, and this one is actually generated by AI. Chatty come up with this one. So
Nice.
why did the video marketer go to therapy?
Oh, man. I don't know. Why did they?
Because he had too many repressed reels.
Nah. Shit.
I think Chatty's getting worse.
Man, the jokes that I don't know.
It's just making up shit now.
I know the things that ChatGPT considers to be a joke are interesting.
But that's actually it's actually perfect for this whole episode. Talking about AI content and that,
Right.
And that's just a perfect example of AI getting it wrong, really.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. It's the comedians are safe for the time being. We'll put it
for
that
the time being. Yep, their jobs are okay. Cool.
Right.
Mate, well, thank you very much for, joining us. How can our listeners connect with you?
Well, I love connecting with folks on social. I'll give you our website. It's probably a good starting point. So if you go to www.bizvideoschool, so bizvideoschool.com, we have free trainings we do every couple weeks. We got some free downloadables on there. Follow us on social and all that good stuff. And then, if you just want to look me up, I mean, I'm most active on Facebook and probably LinkedIn. You can find me on other platforms. I just probably won't respond to you anytime soon because I don't log in as often. So I'd say Facebook or LinkedIn are great places to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nick. Really appreciate you. And legends, what an incredible episode here. Nick has just dropped some absolute gold on video marketing, AI, and the future of social selling. The insights and strategies that we've unpacked today, these aren't just for listening. They're for taking action. I know one tip that I'm going to do is I'm going to go jump on that DUBB straight away, go check that out and implement that into my marketing strategy. So, Nick, I really appreciate you for pointing me in the right direction there. So what's the one idea that you're going to take away from today's episode and start applying it to, your 2025 to help you to make the most impactful year yet? Hey, make sure that you let us know in the comments, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. Let us know what you're taking away from this episode and how you're going to apply that lesson and help you to crush this year. As always, if you found this episode valuable, please share it with someone who needs it and subscribe to our Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube channels so you never miss another episode. Hey, Nick, massive thank you. And to the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network for making this happen. Let's make it, thank you very much for that too. So let's make 2025 the year that we show up, take action, and use video to help create a massive impact. But let's just not add to the noise. Let's go add value and build relationships with people and start a conversation. Guys, see you next time on the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. Until then, stay caffeinated and keep bouncing towards your dreams.